Hey, welcome back. We are ACI Course 12, Class 2. It is March 26th, 2026, where I am. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do, please. Bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them here with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Studying emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow your wish into a longing. And your longing into an intention. And with this strong intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please, please teach me that, show me that, help me become that. And they're so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Nirya Tayamin. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. So last class we learned about what's meant by jikta, that destruction view. And primarily it's referring to that worldview, that belief system in which we hold that our me and mine, all of it has some nature of their own, right? That their identities and qualities and everything they do are somehow in them, from them, and me is in me, from me. And those things with their own natures, they are the source of my pleasure and displeasure. That worldview, jikta, is not experiencing the me and mine accurately to the way they do exist. The jikta worldview does not recognize me and mine, every experience, as projected results forced by the karma of past behaviors. And that's not likely to occur to us, even if something happens and we start questioning our old world view. It's really not an obvious conclusion unless we've had training and really worked it out, even when we know the punchline. I know my mind still can say the punchline, but it doesn't feel like, it feels like there's a gap between, oh, it can't have its own nature because other beings experience it differently. And so therefore it's a result of my past behavior, right? I get that. So therefore it's unique to me. But then why is it what it is? And that's what we are in the process of exploring, because the answer depends on what level of understanding we have when we learn the explanation, oh, things have no self-nature, and so therefore are dependently originated. And we can hear those same words and understand it in different ways, we ourselves, through time, and certainly other people who hear it are going to hear it in ways unique to them because of what's really going on. So when we do realize, meaning make real for us, the empty nature of me and mine, it allows us to recognize that there's no object that can have any nature of its own. And so therefore, every object that appears in the way that it does has to be a result of the experiencer's own past behavior. Who's the experiencer we're always talking about? Right? Our me. Even if we understand this and then we go, yeah, but you are experiencing that in the way you made, we're still misunderstanding because we can't blame what I can't blame what I see, you see on you because I don't know what you actually see. I only know what I see, you see. And who's that coming from? Me, right? So highest worldview gives no room for blaming anybody for anything, which is dangerous because we see people doing things that we see are wrong and making bad karma. We need to act to somehow try to keep them from making those bad seeds because that's how we keep from making the bad seeds. Do you see? By trying to help them not make bad seeds. Can we really make them stop? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So to say, oh, it's all my own ripening does not mean everybody else can do what they want, right? And it's important for us to go past just the obvious punchline, and that's my job. Once we realize the empty nature of any experience, we are also realizing the projected nature of any experience. And that means the karmic ripening nature of every experience. And once we know that, we know the connection between our behavior and our experiences. And now we know that we can go on to completely eliminate all unpleasant circumstances, all mental afflictions, and all the seeds for more of them by way of our behavior, what we take up and what we give up, which is what Lord Buddha teaches us about. So then your quiz asks you, name the two truths. And really, it's a trick question, right? So the answer key doesn't say, can't do that because there's not two truths. The answer key gives the superficial answer, which is deceptive truth and ultimate truth. But are they two different truths? No. Are they two realities? Careful there. Seems like it. But what is this thing, deceptive truth or deceptive reality? It's the world as we experience it through a deceived state of mind. Is it? Is it real? Yeah, it's real. That deceptive truck will break my deceptive legs and I will have deceptive pain. But my own mind hears that and goes, oh, all deceptive, it means it's not really happening, so don't worry about it. Wrong conclusion, right? the right conclusion would be, oh man, I did that to somebody. I'm so sorry. Right? I'm burning it off. I'm going to be really, really careful, even with the ant on my kitchen counter, that I don't break their little teeny legs inadvertently, to try to stop this kind of pain from happening to anybody because I don't like it. Right? It's really as simple as that. But the behavior level of change, it gets is 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 at such a subtle level in order to be powerful enough for us to see the change in ourselves and our world in a recognizable time frame, that most of us can't actually do it in a way that says, oh, I did this differently, so now this has happened, because of that time gap in the ripening of the seeds that are planted. So deceptive truth, ultimate truth, they aren't two kinds of truths. Only one of them is truth, which is the ultimate reality, the truth of ultimate reality, which is the fact that nothing about me and mine has any nature of its own, and never has and never will. And so everything about me and mine is and always has been and always will be a mental image forced on me by the ripening results of the imprints made by my own past behavior. Boil that down, and it means dependently originated and empty. Emptiness and dependent origination, which is awkward. Right? Geshe now says emptiness and mental seeds, which is more clear once we've had that long explanation of what we mean by mental seeds, because not everybody's going to know that either. If you go to the grocery store and say, oh, it's just your mental seeds, right? Without explanation, that's not helpful. All right. So then your third quiz question was, what's that special quality of ultimate truth, according to Gyaltsab, that makes it so important? And it's that object which is such that if, or I would say when, we realize it directly, functions to allow us to finish off every impurity, is what he says, which means help us finish off all mental afflictions and seeds for more, all the way up to nirvana, if that was your goal, and all the way up to total Buddhahood, if that was your goal. So can we do it? Can we realize the truth of dependent origination and the truth of the ultimate reality, which is nothing that's dependent originated has any nature of its own? Can we do it? I mean, the promise is we can, and that we will eventually, because the truth stands on two legs and the lie stands on one. But a better question would be, how do we cultivate it? How do we get it to happen? And could we have it or have had it and not really known about it? So Geshe goes into this with some greater detail here than he had before. So we're all at a little bit of a disadvantage because we've heard all of this before. And so our mind's going to go, oh yeah, I understand. Whereas imagine you were amongst the early group studying from Geshe, and they're hearing this description about dependent origination, some of them for the first time, Others heard it in course 6, but have been percolating it all this time. Like, try to imagine that we don't know the punchline so that we can get a bigger impact. It's very, very easy for our mind to go, okay, I know, get on with it, even in a really subtle way. So the conditions that we can cultivate in order to stir forth this series of realizations we'll be talking about. We would want to connect purely and deeply with a qualified teacher and then study under them. Seriously study. And part of seriously studying is serving them in some way. And that serving them in some way really means take what they have taught you, work on it, use it to affect your behavior. That may not include doing their laundry for them. Maybe we're not close enough to them to serve in that direct way. But what the service they want most is for us to train ourselves in these new ways of interacting with others, because it's going to lead to our happiness. And that's all they want for us. That's all they want from us, is our ever increasing happiness. If we have the opportunity to help them teach others, jump at the chance, because it's such powerful seeds for our own mind. This connection to a qualified teacher is extraordinary virtue, and service to them is this positive energy that's going to push us along our path. Then we study emptiness intellectually. We take classes, we do the readings, we find other texts about emptiness and explore them. We debate it with others. We try to share it with others who are interested. Hours and hours, they say, because of the seed planting that we're doing in every moment that we're trying to get it right. So we don't have to have our intellectual understanding of emptiness perfect as we're doing our study and growing. We're planting seeds along the way as we go. So the more often we hash it out with ourselves or with a friend, or even with your dog or cat, imagining what question they might ask and trying to address it, our own mind's watching. And we're planting seeds, trying to help somebody else gain greater understanding of where things come from. Then we need to be meditating regularly, able to reach that deep state of meditation that will be the platform from which these realizations can spring. Not that reaching that platform automatically triggers the direct perception of emptiness, but if we're not at that level of concentration, we won't be able to sustain the intensity of mental focus to slide into that direct perception when the time comes. Geshe always says, build up 1 to 2 hours of meditation a day. Like 1 to 2. Which one is it? It's like, don't worry, build up. Then he says, and get instructions on that subject matter, topic, Chichadak. Chichadak means the study of the nature of how our mind makes mental images. And as we're working with that, study on top of all the rest, there'll come a time where our goodness starts triggering these series of realizations, like profound realizations that happen both in and out of meditation, that are the understandings that move us through our path of preparation, whether we know we're on our path of preparation or not. There are these different awarenesses that we are getting that become beyond intellectual into experiential, like our own impermanence and these kinds of things. So once we're in this, it's like a momentum, which might be happening for weeks or even months, maybe, that he says, then one day something extraordinary may happen. So this is the part you've all heard before. And what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and imagine it happening to you as I describe it. Right? Instead of listening and what she's talking about, taking notes. Because you've heard it before, let's do it experientially. Okay? The seed planting will be a little different. And then I'll tell you when to stop imagining and come back to class. Right? So settle yourself in, get a sense of like opening yourself up to your precious holy being, that one there with you, delivering this to you. Okay, ready? Here goes. So you could be making a pot of tea for your precious Lama one morning. And you're standing there in front of the stove looking at the pot of water. And suddenly you experience that all you are actually seeing are parts, is information, colors and shapes, is all your eyes can pick up. And you experience that it's your mind that takes that information and makes pot on stove out of it. You realize you never really see a whole pot. You only see details that are reported to the mind, and it's the mind that organizes those hints into pot on stove. Pot on stove, boiling water to make tea. And so suddenly you are experiencing directly your mental image of a pot on a stove. You realize you are not experiencing a pot on a stove. And you realize you never have experienced anything but mental images laid onto information. You're experiencing this directly, not imagining it, not imposing it. Imagine your state of mind. Like, wow. Is this perceiving emptiness? No. This is the direct perception of how we create our reality. Technically, it's a direct perception of dependent origination, a direct perception of what deceptive reality has never shown ourselves. So we finally recognized what deceptive reality actually is. It's not the first time we've perceived deceptive reality, because before this, everything we've ever experienced has been deceptive reality, and we didn't know that we were deceived by it. So this is called chuchuk, the peak moment in our ordinary existence. This perceiving directly how we create our world from these ripening mental seeds of our mind. And so next, you'll go to meditate, and you'll sit down on your cushion, set your mind on your meditation object, directing your mind to the true nature of that object. And because of the power of this intense goodness that's been ripening for the past few weeks or month or so, we'll go into the direct perception of emptiness, the direct experience of ultimate reality. What's that like? Indescribable. Can't say anything more. It's indescribable because we cannot be aware of ourself during it. And why not? Because our myself is a conceptual label onto parts. It is seeds ripening out of the mind. And that's dependent origination. That's deceptive reality when our mind is still deceived. In ultimate reality, our mind is no longer in deceptive reality. So we can't have the experience, I'm seeing emptiness, because that would be an experience of deceptive reality. So direct perception of emptiness is this pure communion with the absence of self, existence of self and other, any other, all other. Our sense consciousnesses are all shut down. We can't mark the passing of time. Then at some point, something stirs, and there's a sensation of coming down. And when you come out, you realize it's only been 15 or 20 minutes. And within the next 24 hours, you'll experience one by one what come to be called the 16 realizations of the four Arya truths. So dedicate that revisualization to some co-student and them reaching their direct perception of deceptive reality and then ultimate reality soon. Give it away. Give that goodness away. And then come back to your awareness of your body in your room in this class. When you're ready, open your eyes. So within about an hour's time, we will have had this direct experience of dependent origination, followed by the direct experience of ultimate reality, seeing emptiness directly. And we then have finally experienced the two truths directly. And this gives us the power in time to stop all of our mental afflictions and seeds for more of them. Imagine being a being that has no anger, not just doesn't react to the feeling of anger, just doesn't get it. No jealousy, no fear. I mean, it's like, is that really possible? Like, would I even be human? Or would I be like robot? Right? It doesn't make us emotionless. It makes us sufferingless. If all of that has happened and we have been cultivating ourselves on the Bodhisattva track, which means we've been working with the things called the six perfections. Then after the direct perception of emptiness, we'll also have that direct experience of bodhicitta. So technically, experiencing emptiness directly is called bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta. But then there's this other bodhicitta, which is the heart opening kind that we've heard Geshe-la describe. We're coming down out of your direct perception of emptiness. You have that experience of that liquid light flowing out of your heart from which you see the face of every existing being, and you love them so much that you know, it's not just this kind of know, but you know that your very being forever will serve them. And we hear that at one level, but as we work with it, what does it mean to love everybody so much that you will serve them in your forever? Not just the rest of this life or the rest of that life, but forever. It's like, why do they need my help forever? Cook it. As Buddhas, we don't stop serving. Maybe all we serve is cupcakes to everybody forever. I don't know. But we don't stop being bodhisattvas when we're Buddhists. We start our real career once we reach Buddha me and Buddha paradise emanating. On the Bodhisattva track, we'll understand that we are on our way to total enlightenment because we recognize that we've seen it. We've seen a Buddha, we've seen our own future Buddhahood, but I don't know that it's like a vision. Oh, look what I'm going to look like, but rather, right, a deep knowing of being that. But as a result, when you're down out of the experience, you have lost all doubt about the path. Doubt in yourself achieving the path, doubt in what you're learning about as being the how we get there. To have lost all doubt is a major freedom. In although we're not really aware of the heaviness of having doubt on our path until it's gone. We apparently will know the truth of the scriptures. Geshe says we'll know their contents, we will understand them, we'll understand their meaning. We'll know what our lifetimes will be like between now and when we reach that beginning of our career as Buddhas. And so you recognize that there'll be, difficulties through those lives, but you see that you're basically taken care of. You can't get off your path. Everything will go as needed. And so again, there's like this heaviness of, I don't know what's in my karmic pocket, kind of pervasive suffering, that we still have pervasive suffering as a realized being, but the worry about how bad could it get is gone. He says, and we will know how committed that we are to preserving those books because we know that they hold the truth. Like there's some self-existent truth between those pages. A little bit slippery, right? So he says, most importantly, we are forever changed by this series of experiences. We are a different kind of being. We understand that. We will again experience ourself and the objects and the interactions between as if they have their natures in them, but we no longer believe it. And because of that absence of belief, we no longer replant the deceived mind. We're ripening seeds from having interacted with things from the deceived state of mind, but we can't replant, which is why they say we are on that conveyor belt to the end of all mental afflictions, because we're burning away the ignorance that is the deepest source of mental afflictions. Still have experiences, still have anger, but when it's replanted, even if we erupt, there's still not being planted that full-on ignorance that perpetuated samsara. So we are burning off samsara as we go. So it makes for what the scripture calls two kinds of beings in this world. Those who have seen emptiness directly and those who have not yet seen emptiness directly. Pakpa and Sosokewo. You remember those words, was my share. Making this bigger here. Oops. Come on, fingers. There you go. All right, so Kunzop Dempa, deceptive reality. Dundam Dempa, ultimate reality. Kunzop Dempa is not really reality, right? Truth, it's not really truth. Jorlam is our path of preparation. To choke is that highest experience on path of preparation. Here's where I am. Pakpa. Pakpa in Tibetan is Arya in Sanskrit. Sorry, I didn't write that. I'll put it down here. Pakpa, to be Pakpa is described as Tongni Nusumdu Tok Nyong. Nyong means has done it. Nusumdu Tok means realized it directly. What? Tongni, Tongpani, emptiness. Pakpa or Arya is someone who has realized directly emptiness. The emptiness of self and all existing things, not just an emptiness, because there is no one great big emptiness that you go on to see. There is the emptiness of this and the emptiness of that. Most importantly, the emptiness of one's me. You come out of that as Arya, as Pakpa, which really does mean superior being, but doesn't mean you come out all puffed up with how grand you are. It means you come out realizing, oh my gosh, right? I now know something I never, ever, 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 ever knew before that I will use to help others, that I will use to bring about the end of suffering, that kind of superior being. And it's been misunderstood, that term, Arya, even mistranslated as noble, which is very noble to know that you will spend forever bringing everyone to their total enlightenment as well. But noble means, kingly, or noble means better than you. And that's not what this is talking about at all. Then they also, like once we've done that for the first time, we also gain this description of Gyunshuk. Gyunshuk means stream enterer. Stream enterer is that term for being on the conveyor belt to the end of our suffering. And if we did it with bodhicitta, a mind imbued with bodhicitta, we are on the conveyor belt to our Buddhahood, because through our bodhicitta state of mind, everything we do becomes a cause for our Buddhahood, which until then, not everything we do is a cause for Buddhahood. It may be a cause for getting us there, right, eventually, but not directly planted seeds. So it's a significant quality that we then have, is to be this stream enterer. You can't get out of the stream, even if you would want to, and you would never, right? You wouldn't ever want to. But it's kind of a relief to say, well, really, all I really have to do is just stand here on this conveyor belt, and eventually I will get there. If probably we won't want to stand on the conveyor belt and wait. Like how many of us on the moving sidewalk in the airport just stand there? There, we've got somewhere to go, we've got something to do. We walk or run on that conveyor belt, but either way, we won't fall off. Then those who have not realized emptiness directly, Tong ni nusum du tok ma nyong. Ma is the negation of the nusum du tok. They are still have the term so sor kewo, which means ordinary person. Pratyakyana in Sanskrit. Sorry, I didn't put that either. Pratya. Where'd it go? Sorry, prata. Get over here. But Yana, which means ordinary, the way we've always been before. Believing me, the pen, we have our own natures, we interact, so I can write with the pen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, right? So it's okay. Well, someone who's not perceived emptiness directly yet. We also have the description called Chiva. Chiva means infant, meaning baby, baby up to probably 4 years old. You know, by the time we're 4, we're getting some opinions about things, right? We're getting some wisdom. But sokewo are chiba. They are like infants, just are so mistaken about what's going on in their reality. You know, that they write on walls and they cry when they don't get what they want. And right, it's just we're like babies in that way. We also have this quality called surtong. Surtong means those who only see this side. And we know what that means. It's not that we're meaning this side of the pen or that side of the pen, but meaning we perceive things as coming from their side. The pen has its nature in it. And so, in a sense, when we see the pen, our experience of the pen is that there's something about it that's telling us it's a pen. Intellectually, logically, we say, no, we don't. But yes, we do, right? Because we'll say, hey, honey, would you hand me that pen that's on the table? And we expect them to go to the table, find the pen, and hand it to me because that object is recognized as a pen by any reasonable human that would see it. So, Surtung, that the other siders, actually, it means this siders, where it's seeing it this way. It's like wrong. It's completely wrong, but we don't know it's wrong. So we're seeing things as this side, meaning coming from their own side. The opposite of Surtom is those beings that are perceiving things not coming from their own side, which means for a thing to be there, it has to be coming from the side of the one who's perceiving it. So it's really not even realized being Arya that's perceiving things not Surtom until they reach 8th level Bodhisattva. At that point, they're no longer perceiving things as in them from them. But all that time up to that, they're still perceiving them wrongly, but they don't believe it. And that is what makes them not Surtong. Or you could debate, are they Surtong or not? Can you be a Pakpa Surtong? Or Surtong Pakpa? And it's like, seems like it. From Bodhisattva Bhumi 1 until 8. And then is it at the beginning of 8 or the end of 8? Right? That debate would go on for another hour or so. Not so important as just to understand, right? These different terms that we'll hear. Shivas, Surtom, Sosokewo, they all mean not having experienced emptiness directly yet. Arya, Pakpa, someone who has seen emptiness directly, whether or not they had bodhicitta in their mind. Right? You can see emptiness directly and theoretically not care one iota about bringing everybody else to their Buddhahood. And you'd still be called Arya. Okay. Okay. So also, just as an aside, let's be clear that Arya is the term for someone who has perceived emptiness directly. And then that Arya goes on to use that wisdom to burn away their mental afflictions and not plant seeds for more. And when they reach that final freedom from mental afflictions and seeds for more, they've reached the status called Arhat, which would be nirvana if that was your goal of your practice, was nirvana as your highest state. To be Arhat is to reach nirvana. Where do I want to put that? So we did it in last class. Are all Buddhas Arhats? Are all Arhats Buddhas? Are all Arhats Aryas? Are all Aryas Arhats? Correct. Okay. So then, is this direct perception of emptiness the same for anyone who experiences it? And it gets a little tricky because if we were on the debate ground, we would need to sort out, what do you mean by the same? Because do we mean one and the same? Or do we mean identical to? And can you be identical to, but not one and the same? Yes. And what is it that's similar and what is it that's different in the experience of the direct perception of emptiness if when you're in it, there's no distinction between subject, object, and interaction between. There's only the direct experience of the absence of self-nature, of self, object, and interaction between. Is the direct perception of emptiness by the person who, for whom that's the first experience, different than the direct perception of emptiness that a Buddha is experiencing constantly? Seems like it should be different, doesn't it? But emptiness is the absence of self-nature, of whatever object the mind was meditating on when it penetrated to that directly. And once that happens, it is then the absence of self-nature of all existing things. And that's what the omniscient mind is experiencing all the time. So we would say, well, the emptiness that's being experienced is identical because it's a sheer absence of self-nature. And anyone who experiences an absence of self-nature, it's an identical quality. Like you take a pure diamond and you smash it to bits, every bit is equally pure as the original. Same as every emptiness of every appearance is 100% identical to every other one. But it's not all one big emptiness that Lord Buddha is seeing. And it's not all one big emptiness that you, the Arya, sees. But the absence of self-nature is identical. So when we perceive emptiness directly for the first time or the billionth time, it will be identical to what our Buddha me will we be perceiving directly always. Identical in what it is that we're perceiving. But it has a different effect on the mind coming out, doesn't it? Because we could have that experience without the bodhicitta motivation, and we come out of it and it puts us on the conveyor belt to nirvana. Or we have the supposedly identical experience with bodhicitta in our heart, and we come out of it, and now we're on the conveyor belt to total Buddhahood, which includes nirvana, but doesn't stop there. And then if we come out of our first direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in our heart, we are on what's called our first Bodhisattva bhumi, where we're now focusing in on our practices of giving, now with the wisdom in mind that we were only pretending to have before. And to shift from first Bodhisattva bhumi to the next apparently involves experiencing emptiness directly again with that mind imbued with bodhicitta, which because it is. And we come out on our second Bodhisattva bhumi, now focusing on our ethical way of life with wisdom, so more so in greater subtlety than we did before. So if we go into and come out of the direct perception and get a different result coming out, was the experience itself, didn't the experience itself have to be different? And the answer is no, because the absence of self nature is identical in every experience. But the mind that's having the experience is different. And so the impact on the mind is unique to that mind. Right? So is it the same perception of emptiness? Yeah, identical, but not one and the same. In English, we would make that distinction. All right, let's take a break. Okay, are we back? Okay, so as we progress through our Bodhisattva bhumis, our our hmm, our understandings of what it is to practice each of those six perfections is growing deeper, growing bigger, wouldn't it be? And that when we have a deeper or higher understanding of our perfection of giving, it would reveal to ourselves how our previous understanding of what was meant by the perfection of giving was just limited. Not really wrong, but incomplete. And as our understanding gets more deep, more accurate, we recognize that that previous understanding was helpful, but not not enough, not sufficient to actually create the seeds for my goal of total Buddhahood. So in a similar way, as we are growing our intellectual understanding of what's meant by emptiness and dependent origination, we'll meet the explanation and understand it in a certain way. And we will probably think, wow, I really get it. And I understand that I won't really get it until I see it directly, but I get it enough that I can change my behavior. I'll make different behavior choices because I understand it well enough. And then as we work with it and use it and our goodness grows, we hear a teaching on it again and we understand it at a deeper level. And it's like, wow, how did I miss that before? And then if we go back to the previous understanding, we'd go, oh, that got me started, but it's insufficient to move me forward. And so in that same way, as Lord Buddha was guiding his brand new disciples on the path, he didn't just dump on them the highest worldview. He shared it in these baby steps to allow them to understand a little bit and work with that to grow their goodness, understand it a little more, grow their goodness a little more, a little more. And that evolved into what's called the four schools of Buddhism, which isn't, four different schools that hold to a different understanding and maintain that theirs is right and everybody else is wrong. It describes these different levels of understanding that our own mind goes through as we are learning, studying, practicing. And even as we are learning, studying, practicing what we would call the highest worldview, when before our direct perception of emptiness, if we are working carefully, we will be able to recognize when our interaction with others is happening at these different levels of beliefs in what's meant by dependent origination and emptiness. And if we're being honest with ourselves, there may be times when we're so mentally afflicted about a situation that we're not even at level first school, in terms of still blaming that other for, right? I use the blame factor. The stronger I'm blaming even the pebble for causing the pain in my foot when I step on it, is the level to which it shows me what school I'm in. And if it's full on, that pebble hurt my foot, I'm not even in a Buddhist school yet. So when we're learning these different schools, we learn them as if they've got these finite ideas, but the usefulness of the different schools is to watch them pop up into our own mind. And what moves us through the schools is coming to recognize how the lower school, or the one that we were holding to as true, we now see that it fails to serve us as a tool for moving towards our goal, whether that goal is nirvana or Buddhahood. We're studying Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, so our goal is Buddhahood. It's not that we completely reject the lower schools. We recognize that they serve somebody, and then they become insufficient. Not wrong, just insufficient, incomplete. And move ourselves towards the level at which we can push our functioning to greater wisdom that does seem to be effective for us, until we see that, oh my gosh, this one's limited too. Okay, so out of these four, what are called the four schools, there are actually 5 ideas about what's meant by ultimate reality and deceptive reality. And 4 of those 5 ideas won't get us to total enlightenment. So in a sense, they are wrong, but more accurately, they are incomplete rather than wrong. So when we study these incomplete ideas, we can fine-tune our growing accurate idea, which speeds us towards our direct perception of emptiness. So it's useful to learn what are called the wrong ideas so that we can catch ourselves having them, right? Not knowing they're wrong. Yeah. So Geshe-la gives us these different wrong ideas about emptiness. He says, first of all, if we think the emptiness of something means absolute nothingness, like a black void, he says that's too stupid for words. We won't even talk about it. Secondly, he says, if we think that emptiness is the absence of all things, pretending then that things really aren't there, he says that's absurd because things do exist. This belief system would say, oh, your car out in the parking lot, it's absent, meaning it's not there. And it's like, what? My car's not there? What happened to it? Right? It would trigger all these mental afflictions. Then he says, worst is that emptiness means that everything is empty, so nothing matters. It's not so different than the second one. But when we come to the conclusion that because everything's empty, so is pleasure and displeasure, and so is good and so is bad. It's like if emptiness means just nothing matters, then who cares what I do? There's no connection between my behavior and the results that I get, no direct connection, but no long-term connection either, in which case nothing matters. I'll do whatever I want, and maybe it'll help me feel better, maybe it won't. It's just like there'd be no reason to have any level of practice, no level of morality, nothing would matter. Mm. There'd be no reason for virtue, non-virtue, none of it. And it seems absurd that we could even get to that conclusion that nothing matters. But I want to suggest that as we're digging into these different ideas in this course, and then later on we'll do it a little bit in course 13, but then mostly 15, to really check our minds, because it's not that we're going to slide off that cliff, but there could very easily come up times where we say, oh, it's empty. And just that phrase and the way it's verbalized implies that we mean, oh, because it's empty, it doesn't really matter. When our deep understanding of emptiness, when we say, oh, it's empty, like the conclusion would be, egads, what am I misunderstanding here? About how I'm going to react in order to create a world that I want instead of perpetuate the one I don't want. And it's so easy to slip off this, it's empty, so nothing matters, cliff, not falling all the way down, but just teetering on the edge and not recognizing it, particularly in Diamond Way. Because at that level of practice, we're trained, use absolutely everything for your path. And then it can very easily get misused by someone who hasn't trained themselves well in their emptiness and bodhicitta, in their motivation for everyone's happiness. And anyway, okay, so this emptiness means nothing is real, so nothing matters, is again not even a Buddhist school. It's a hear about emptiness without any other training and come to some conclusion. So when we get to the views of the ancient schools, I said that there are traditionally 4 schools with 5 ideas of what's meant by emptiness and dependent origination. And there are different ways that we divide those 5 according to different criteria. One of the ways that we divide them is by way of functionalist schools and middle way. So functionalist is this term, Newport Mawa. Newport Mawa means they profess Mawa, functioning things. This is the state of belief that says anything that performs a function has to exist in some way unique to itself because they do something. Functioning things must have their own existence in order to function. And it's not so absurd. It's like, this thing's a pen. Pen's right. If this pen doesn't have some nature of pennishness, then why can't my mind suddenly ripen it as a bicycle? And bicycles don't write, right? Bicycles ride, not right. If it doesn't have something in it that suggests pen, well, it could be anything for anybody at any moment. Now, technically, that's true. But do we interact with this thing in that way? Right? My own self, I don't. When I go looking for a pen, this is what I pick up. I don't check out this first and then this. I go directly to the thing that has some pennishness apparently in it because, right, of the level that I'm functioning in. Now, functionalist schools have different explanations for how much of the writing is coming from the thing. And that distinguishes between first school, second school, third school. Mostly we're going to be talking about mind only school level, which is a Mahayana level, meaning people at mind only school level, these theoretical people, they want to reach their total Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. And they know that in order to do that, they need to cultivate this ability to see emptiness directly with bodhicitta in their heart. And they're trying to understand the dependent origination and the emptiness of objects. And they say, they still believe that for something to function, it has to have something in it from it that contributes to its functioning ability. They're going to agree that no, it's my mind bringing stuff to the party, but my mind brings me and this pen together so that I can write with it. Whereas highest middle way school says nothing has any nature of its own. So the argument is not, do things function or do they not function? That's not what's going to happen. Functionalist school's premise is we want to understand the empty nature of things that function because it cannot mean that they have no nature of their own because they function. Whereas highest middle way says they can't have any nature of their own and function the way they do for me and function the way they do for you. But do you see where the trouble lies? What do we do with pens? We write with them. We all do the same thing with pens. So you can't say a pen being a writing thing is unique to everyone who perceives it, because then everybody would do something different with it. And we don't. We all write with it. Yeah, we can tie our hair up with it. Yeah, we can stop a closing door with it, but we're stopping a closing door with a pen that is a writing thing. Do you see? So it's not insignificant to explore our own mind for how we believe things function. Okay, so in these three lower schools, they're all Nupur profess that functioning things have some nature of their own. We have the Abhidharma school called the Detailists. We have the Sautrantika school called the Sutrists. And we have the Chittamatra or Yogacharya school called the mind-only school. They have different explanations for what makes the pen right and what that means about the identity of the pen. None of them are flat out wrong like those first three ideas, but they are incomplete for bringing about the end of suffering, whether it's nirvana or Buddhahood. So they say Nupardempa Drupa, which means a functioning thing truly exists. Can a non-existent pen write anything. Can I write with a non-existent pen? No. To have a pen is to have something that I can write with, provided it has ink in it, provided I know how to write, provided I know what writing is, right? All these little caveats, but it still takes one of these to actually carry out the function, right? Sounds right. Those functionalist schools do not say the pen is a self-existent writing object. None of them say that. They are all admitting that the pen depends on something, because there's no such thing as a self-existent thing, which would mean something that exists independent of any other factor. And everything depends on something. So come on, no such thing as self-existent. But then as we get more sophisticated by what we mean by self-existent, and we reach the highest school, what we mean by self-existent is something that exists independent of the experiencer's mental seeds ripening into the experience that they have. And there's a lot to look at between lowest school, oh, everything depends upon its causes, and highest school, everything depends upon the seeds ripening of the being who's experiencing it. Okay. So, Umapa is the Tibetan for Madhyamaka. Madhyamaka means middle way. Did I spell that right? Madhyamika. And it's the middle way between two extremes we've learned. One extreme is that emptiness means nothing exists at all. That first stupid idea that doesn't even count. The second extreme is thinking that things exist exactly as they appear to me to exist. Tu sosokewo surtom. It's the pen in it from it that has its causes and conditions, and it has its parts, and it has me here to know the pen. But the pen has its penness in it, its writing ability has to be in it, or I could write without a pen. If I had the seeds to write without a pen, I could write with my finger, right? Which curiously, we can do that on computers now. But it's proof it's proof of emptiness, not proof of no emptiness. Anyway, so when we hear, oh, this pen, it has no nature, there's a part of our mind that goes, what? It's not there? So we say, no, let's call it has no nature of its own. But technically, it has absolutely no nature. It can't. Whether it's a nature of its own or a nature of somebody else's, it doesn't have it. And so our mind goes, well, if it has no nature at all, what the heck's the it that's even there? There can't be an it there to have no nature without an it being there that has to have some nature to receive the nature that somebody else puts on it. So our mind, because we're so steeped in the belief that things have some nature of their own, we can't hear the punchline and go, oh, duh. Our mind struggles, and it either goes towards one cliff, oh, so it doesn't exist at all, or it goes to the other cliff that says, Absolutely not. It has its own nature. Okay? And anytime we blame the thing for our experience of it, we are on cliff of it has its own nature. And anytime we go into that, well, then it doesn't matter, we go to the other side. Middle way is to stay right down the middle. Nothing has any nature. And so what it is completely determined by the ripening seeds of this mind, the experiencer's mind, and nothing else about it, which actually empowers us when we understand it accurately and terrifies us when we don't. So there becomes this debate between these two belief systems. They call it debate between the two schools, but really it's our own mind trying to work this out. Madhyamika states Chu Tamche Rangshin Ki Ma Drupa. Chu Tamche means all things. Tamche, all things. Rangshin Ki Ma Drupa is the term for have have a nature of their own, not. So what it means is nothing, no thing has any nature of its own. Middle way school. Functionalist school hears all things have no nature of their own, and then think, well, then how can a thing with no nature function? If a pen has no nature of being a writing instrument, it can't write no matter what I do with it. That feels right to me. So they explore it. To say nothing has any nature is not to say nothing exists. Things do exist. Mostly, we exist. Like the one thing that we know for sure, each of us, is I am. Right? You have a moment of consciousness, and it's the only thing that we can really confirm. So it doesn't matter who would try to convince us our own me has no nature, right? We would fight that tooth and nail because we know from personal experience, I do so exist. But we'd only fight because we're misunderstanding when they say you have no nature, and we're thinking you're telling me I don't really exist, when that's not what they're saying. In fact, they are confirming that we exist unique to each moment. But we don't understand that, you see. But you don't teach that first up, your own personal no nature. We start with easy things like pens, and then move to a little bit harder things like yelling bosses or spouses, and then move to a little bit harder things like choosing our behaviors, and then move to harder things like my own me. Middle way says none of those at any level have any nature. They can't. And then be what we experience. But they don't add that part. We have to know that part. Okay, let me see where I am. So when middle way is pushed to describe what's going on as we experience anything, a visual thing, let's call it. They explain that what's happening is that in any given experience, our sensory organs are picking up information, and our sensory consciousness takes that information and lays onto it an idea, a name and a term, meaning a label and the function of that label. And it happens so swiftly that all we're aware of is, oh, there's the pen. It's happening so swiftly, we don't actually experience the pieces becoming the identity, the identified object. We just have the object and we act towards it, we react towards it. When we break it down, we find that what we think is happening, there's the pen, I can pick it up and write with it. It's my favorite pen. Don't you dare try to take it unless I give it to you. If we don't break that down, we perpetuate the misunderstanding. If we do start to break it down, there are any number of ways to do that. We end up recognizing that, oh my gosh, this pen, this object, these colors and shapes, these parts, at any level I go looking for it, all I find is information receiving a label, an idea, an archetype. And that idea, that label, makes the thing be what it is for me. And it's very real because everything I've ever experienced has been created in that way. It's not that we're learning some new way to bring about objects in our world. We are coming to recognize the mistake we've been making since forever, which is believing the things are in them, instead of believing, understanding that they are ripening results of my own behavior. The more we are aware of they are ripening results of my own behavior, what becomes most important? My behavior towards others, because through that I am creating my future. And any other interaction with an object or an other is not going to create the future that I profess to want, as long as I'm misunderstanding where the object and its function and its goodness or badness has come from. Right. So middle way says nothing exists in any other way than ripening results of our own past behaviors. Nothing has any nature. I want to say of its own, but I don't have to say that. Nothing has any nature at all. Functionalists say, no, things have to be real because they function. Anything that functions, anything that does anything, anything that affects another thing and makes that thing do something, they all have to have their reality. They can't have no nature, right? So it's from misunderstanding what's meant by no nature. Okay, they say, well, I don't think I wrote this down because I knew I wasn't going to have time. They say if things don't have any nature of their own, then they must not exist at all. Middle way is the one that says things have no nature. Mind only, that believes a functioning thing has to have some nature, here's no nature, and goes, well, you guys think it doesn't exist at all. then they say, if things do exist, they must have some nature of their own, not self-existent, of course, because they depend on their own causes and conditions. Hmm? Middle way is not saying those functioning things don't exist at all, are they? When we say they have no nature, it means a thing is its nature is to be available to be whatever the mind that's perceiving it is forced to perceive it as. If the pen had its own nature and my mind ripened bicycle, how would that work? Right? I couldn't, right? There couldn't be bicycle because the pen's saying pen, 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 pen. But did you just watch your own mind? It's like, come on, Sarani. If your mind is ripening bicycle, you would not be holding a pen in your hand, right? You'd be standing next to a bicycle. Well, right. Well, was the bicycle there first and then my mind lays on it? Like the pen is there first and my mind recognizes it? Like I'm watching my own mind as I'm doing this own explanation and it's going, no, right? Because it's a pen, it has to have some nature of penness, or else I'd be holding something that just was clear and available. But I am holding something that's clear and available. If we could perceive it before our mind goes, pen. But we've already got it, pen, even before I'm talking about it, because of our past seeds of believing it's pen in it from it. So middle way is saying, no, no, we're not saying there's no pen there. We're saying the pen that is there has no nature. And to a functionalist, it's like you keep saying the same thing. You're saying a pen is there, but then you're saying it can't exist because it has no nature. If a pen is a writing instrument, it has the nature of being a writing instrument. Don't tell me it has no nature. Says Mind Only School says a mind that believes things function makes them somehow real. See your mind? See my mind? Oh, so you're saying the taxi cab that breaks my legs is not real. Am I saying that? Technically, yes, because the taxi cab in it from it that broke my legs in them from them, they're not just not real. There's no such thing. Did I get my legs broken? Yes. Did I have the experience of taxi cab doing it? Yes. Does that make the taxi cab and my broken legs real? Depends on what you mean by real. Right? See how slippery it is? Real means real. You are experiencing it. Yes, I am experiencing it. Are they real in them from them? No, no such thing. Impossible. But my legs got broken. Right, says middle way. Right, says mind only. Do you see what our minds do? So if the pot exists, it has to have a nature of its own. Who says that? Mind only school. If a pot exists, it can't have any nature of its own. Who says that? Middle way. Because things are empty of self-nature. By learning about virtuous deeds, taking and keeping our vows of behavior, meditating regularly, we can come to change our very world that we live in. Because the world that we live in has no nature, which makes it the world that we live in coming from us, which makes it a world that we can change by planting different seeds that will force us to see our world in a different way. Ideally, more exquisite, more beautiful, more kind, totally loving, Buddha paradise for everyone. Only possible if nothing has any nature. Not meaning if nothing exists. Okay. So the debate goes on to about illusion. Middle way says all those existing things, they are illusory. And mind only school mind says, well, see, you say they're illusory, and illusory things are not real. And middle way says, that's not what we mean by illusory. What we mean by illusory is that when we perceive something and take it to have its identity in it, it looks like it's there in that way, but it's not there in that way. It's there by way of my mind seeds ripening me to see it the way that I see it. But I can't experience it that way. And so what I am experiencing is illusory because the way I experience it is not the way the thing really exists. There's a discrepancy between how I believe I'm experiencing it and how I'm really experiencing it. And that's what we call the illusion. And once we experience directly the fact that it's not what I'm experiencing in the way I'm experiencing it, and we come out of that for the first, I don't know how many times, we go back to perceiving things as if they have their identities in them. But now we know that's not how they really exist. And so now, although we still perceive it in the old wrong way, we are aware of the discrepancy. So now we really are perceiving the illusion because we know that the way we're perceiving it is not accurate to the way it really is. So once we're Arya, but not yet Arhat, we are perceiving the illusion. We are living in the illusion. We ourselves are illusory, but not meaning, oh, I'm just pretend. Oh, I'm not real. Right? So again, the vocabulary is different for middle way than mind only. Because mind only also says things are like illusions. Because they say it seems like the object exists, has its own way of being, and that I have my own way of being. And it seems to us that the object comes to me from its own karma ripening, and me comes here with my own karma ripening, when in fact, it's my own seeds that are bringing the object pen and the me to experience the pen together to experience the pen in the way unique to me. And when they devolve all of that, we get that three, blanking out on the word, the Shenwang, the Kuntak, and the Yungdrup explanation of what Lord Buddha really meant when he said things have no nature, which we then learn isn't quite what he really meant, but helps us when we couldn't understand what he did really mean by things have no nature. So the The illusion is the belief that the object that functions and the me to experience the function are coming from separate substances, they call it. They mean separate karmic seeds. When in fact, it's all coming from my karmic seed, brings the pen me together and me to experience it. And then they go into that whole thing about, well, so is there a pen there as this other powered thing that then my seeds grab and bring to me? Or is it that this experience all of a sudden makes a other powered thing and the me and it all's coming out of my seeds? So it's all really my mind happening. Everything's happening in my mind. And it's like, that's a slippery thing to devolve. And we'll do it in future courses in stages. That hopefully we can get that one more clear, which at the time Geshe-la shared this course and the other ones about mind-only school, he hadn't delved in so deeply as they're doing with the translator course, but recognize the translator courses are going into these fine lines about mind-only school. The bottom line always is it's a level at which our mind is clinging to some functioning thing, having to have something in it from it in order to be a functioning thing. And that gets lost in the discussion about the refrigerator consciousness and the negative consciousness, is that it all boils down to how do things function if they have no nature? Okay, so functionalist school says if good deeds and bad deeds are all like an illusion, like you middle way folks say, then how can you say that good deeds create good karma and bad deeds create bad karma? Because you're saying there's no such thing. Says mind only school to middle way that says good, bad, no nature. Are you getting a glimpse? Middle way says no. Right? Our minds are forcing us to perceive some things as good seeds and some things as bad seeds based on the result that they're going to give us or based on the result that we get. They say, if offering flowers to the Buddha is a virtue, it's because the mental seed planted by seeing ourselves make an offering to a Buddha imprints in our mind in such a way that when that ripens, helps move us towards our own Buddhahood. And to instead throw dog poop on somebody's food and feed it to them plants a seed in our mind for being fed spoiled food someday, and we won't like it. From its own side, throwing dog poop on food or offering flowers to a Buddha, there's nothing in either one of those that has a nature of goodness or badness, because maybe somebody likes their food spiced with dog poop. I don't know. And maybe there are somebody, I don't know, a Buddha for whom flowers would not give them bliss. I don't know, like everything gives Buddhas bliss. It's not the flowers being given to the Buddha. It's the perceiving ourselves making an offering to Buddha because it comes back in a good way. There isn't goodness and badness in things. Or else we couldn't, like we couldn't choose a different behavior if goodness and badness was in it from it. So good karma, bad karma works like we think it does, they say to mind only school, but not for the reason that we think it does. Karma is, those four laws of karma is the explanation for the experience results of past behavior is what I'm experiencing now, and how I respond to it plants the seeds for what I will experience in the future. That process that we call profound dependence, because of the empty nature of subject-object interaction between, then what I perceive myself thinking, doing, saying towards the object, imprints my mind in such a way that I will experience objects coming to me similar to how I saw myself do towards it. It has to work that way because it's all imprints in and imprints out. No other way we can have an experience. Like, can you experience something that's outside of your karma? No. But check your own mind. It's like, are there things that exist outside of your karma? There can't be, but come on. I'm thinking of the grocery store down the street that's got flowers in its flower thing, but the store is closed. There's nobody there. I'm believing there's flowers in the store that are independent of my karmic seeds ripening flowers in the store, because my mind says if my mind seeds are ripening flowers in the store, I'd be standing in that store looking at them. But that's mistaken, right? I can be thinking about them, and then that's my ripening seeds. But does that make them real or not? Are the flowers that I'm thinking about actually in the grocery store right now? I don't know. Actually, probably not, because the ones I'm thinking about are the ones I've seen there before, and that was days or weeks ago. The ones that are there now, I have no idea. They're outside of my karma ripening. But I sure as heck believe that there are some there. And that can't be outside of my own ripening. There can't be anything outside of my own ripening. Why did I go there? So functionalists, they're still, trying to nail down these mind only, or these mind only guys are trying to nail down our middle way guys. And they say, well, if me is like an illusion, then how can a me with no nature take rebirth? Like, how could there be any such thing as rebirth if me has no nature? So the reason they would ask that is because they're thinking that me as an illusion means me doesn't really exist. Like, you see water in the desert, and then you go, oh, it's just a mirage. There's no water there, right? The water was an illusion. It looked like it's there, but it's not. Middle way, guys, you say your own me has no nature. You're saying it's like you are the water that I think is there, but when I look at it carefully, there's no water there. So when I look at me carefully, I find there's no me at all. That's ridiculous. Middle way, people. Me can't be an illusion. Me has to be real because me functions. How real does your me feel? Real, right? Does your me feel like an illusion? No. Is our me an illusion? Ooh, slippery. If I think of my me as being me somehow in me, from me, that me isn't just an illusion, it's non-existent. Ow. But the me that's part of every seed ripening, that me's very real. But seeds ripen 65 per instant. And if my me is part of 65 per instant, will the real me please stand up? Right? Never not there, but never the same 2 moments in a row. Oh my gosh, what is this thing? I can't function from that. I have to have some nature of my own. I have to be real. And then I'll change my behaviors and I'll create a better me and right. But do you see if there's a me that's in me that's that's trying to change its seeds, it'll change everything but it's me. And if that me perceives itself as a suffering being, I am stuck because I won't be able to change it. My me can't be a me like that. But how do I relate with the ever-changing me that's never the same? It's very slippery. Okay. Lastly, so remember at the beginning, I said sometimes these classes are going to go long. Here's one. I don't know how much longer, not much. But let's take another few minutes break because I've been yammering for an hour again. Yeah, I don't have that much left.
Emma, can I ask a question?
Uh, Give it to me and I'm not sure I'll answer it.
With that there is no nature, goodness or badness in anything. What
Mhm.
about the vows? Like they're telling us to avoid this or encourage us to do that because it's better for us.
Right.
So it's not that they have some kind of goodness in their own.
No, because the established factor of them being a goodness is based on the result that they will bring us, not on the deed itself. No, it's really difficult. There has to be some nature of the seed that I plant to bring the result that it says that I'm doing it for. But that does not make a goodness or badness either in the deed or in the result, which is why
And
we
then
do.
that means that Buddhas gave us the vows because they know what they would bring to us.
Right, right, out of their
But
omniscience, but not meaning suddenly Buddhists see things as self-existent. They
mm,
understand the imprint we make on our minds by certain behaviors.
okay, thank you now.
That's hard.
Can I ask a question, Dama Sarani?
Yeah, ask, but I'm not sure I'll answer because if I get too distracted, I can
Um,
answer after class. But let me know what it is.
I'm just wondering if I'm convinced of karma and emptiness, but why sometimes I'm still feel like I'm not able to do good. I'll be like sitting down and I was like, I don't know what good I can do.
Okay, remind me at the end of class, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so lastly, in this discussion, um, the functionalists say this weird thing to middle way. They say, well, you guys really don't get it at all because you think samsara and nirvana are the same. And this comes out of this term called that's Rangshenki Nyangde. Nyangde means to go beyond grief. We learned that before, nirvana. Rangshin means natural. So there's this concept that things have natural nirvana. And middle way does say, like every every existing thing, it's they say is natural nirvana. It kind of should, to me, it's more accurate to say has natural nirvana, but there's a reason why they don't say it that way. Every existing thing is natural nirvana. And it's commonly misunderstood, says Geshe Michael, um, as meaning, well, everything's already nirvana, and we just don't see it that way. And that must mean that we are all Buddhas already. We just need to uncover it. And it becomes that misunderstanding of the thing called Buddha nature, which is not the same as Rangshin Ki Nyangde. So uh, this term, not natural nirvana, is referring to the emptiness that of all objects. Any object that we can experience or even think of course, is an existing thing, and so is empty of self nature. Every object has its own emptiness. So the fact that no object has any nature in it, from it, is what's meant by everything's natural nirvana. It is a misnomer in the sense that we're taught that nirvana means to be, to reach that state of the permanent cessation of all mental afflictions and seeds for more because of having had the direct perception of emptiness and worked with our behavior in order to stop perpetuating our mental afflictions and burn off the ones that we had already planted. It's what it is to reach nirvana. And we would argue that there are many existing things that don't have mental afflictions and seeds for more. And so don't go through the direct perception of emptiness to reach nirvana, like pens and tables and bicycles and cars. And things, objects that don't have consciousness, are they, do they have their emptiness? Yes. Every existing thing has emptiness. And another term for that is natural nirvana, the natural freedom, right? From being a thing in it, from it. Because technically, when we reach that level called nirvana, we will stop even perceiving things as having their identities in them from them. And so we'll reach this place where we're no longer misperceiving objects. We stopped believing in the misperception a long time ago, but now we stop even experiencing it. And so now we are experiencing things' natural nirvana. Like we reach nirvana and we experience everything as coming from us. We're not directly perceiving things as emptinesses at nirvana. We're experiencing things always coming from our own seeds. We still have stuff to do to become omniscient Buddhas. This Rangshen Kinyangde is this concept that every existing thing is empty. Already at the instant of their existence, they completely 100% lack any nature, 100% empty, the instant they exist. What happens the instant they don't exist? Poof, their emptiness is gone. Complete, 100% empty of self-nature, no pen at all, destroyed pen, no emptiness of that pen. Other pens, yes, every pen has its own emptiness. Identical to every other pen's emptiness, to every bug's emptiness, to every moment of my emptiness, all 100% equally, no self-nature. But each emptiness, right, is unique. No, that's not right. Is part? No, that's not right. Right? Is related? Maybe that's closer to the object that we're holding to have some nature when it doesn't. Rang Shenkin Yangde. The table doesn't have to reach nirvana. It's already empty. I have to reach nirvana. I'm already empty also. So it means different. Do I have my natural nirvana? Yes, I have my emptiness. Does that make me in nirvana? Not yet. So Mind Only School is saying to middle way, you guys think Buddhas are still in samsara. You guys think nirvana and samsara are the same thing because you profess that every existing thing is natural nirvana. So they've already gotten rid of all their mental afflictions and seeds for more. That means Buddha's still at that level, according to you, stupid guys. What's the matter with you? Right? It's a good argument. If we misunderstand what the term means, which we don't anymore because I just explained it to you. Everything does have natural nirvana. Buddha has natural nirvana. It doesn't have anything to do with reaching nirvana for a conscious being. It's the fact that everything is empty of self-nature, which means everything is available to be whatever anyone perceives it as, which means anything could be anything for anybody until the seeds ripen, and then the thing is it. Wait, that's not quite right. My seeds make the thing it. It's still empty, but once my seeds ripen, I can't take them back. No, I don't want a pen. No, I want something else, right? It doesn't work like that. How do I turn the pen into a, bliss void magic stick? By planting the seeds for bliss void magic stick, not by doing anything different with this thing, the pen. How do you plant bliss void magic stick? I don't know. If I knew, I'd be doing it. Okay. Chu Tamshe Rangshen Kip Tongpa means that Rangshen in Yangde means every existing thing has its own emptiness. Every existing moment. Mind-only schools' premise is to misunderstand that. Middle way says, how can you misunderstand that? And this discussion will go on for a while before we get it settled. But again, the benefit is our own mind, to check our own mind's reaction to when we say, that yelling boss has no nature, and see if our mind goes, oh, so they're unreal. So it doesn't matter how I respond to them. No, it matters very much. Because the unreality is, it looks like they're just a jerk from their side, when in fact, I made them that jerk somehow before, and I have the opportunity to unmake it or perpetuate it. And it's up to my behavior choice. And by the time I've thought that out, I have probably already yelled back. Right? Which is why we train. Work on it, work on it, work on it. So that we can build that ability to not react and instead respond. That's the practice, the daily practice. Okay. I think I covered everything on your homework. And anything I didn't, you can get from the reading and from the student notes, which are pretty good, but they're not always completely accurate. So be careful. And then you know what to do. So remember that being that we were motivated to help at the beginning of class. We learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, and may it be so. So Yashing asked a question that I'm happy to answer, but you don't need to stay on. I know it's been a long class and some of you it's really late, so you're welcome to click off. May I leave it on the recording, Yashing, or would you rather it not be?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So ask it again for me, please.
I think I was asking, I think I'm convinced of karma and emptiness, but why do I still experience sometimes I just not doing any good, even knowing, everything is coming from the from my projection, from my behavior from the past seed, and as a projection onto the things. But sometimes I just want to sit down, and I actually do just sit down and do nothing. Like I will be sitting down and then think, okay, I understand everything coming from my projection based on my behavior. But then I'm just going to sit down and I watch other people doing good. I can imagine people doing good and I don't. What's going on there?
So, I'm not omniscient, so I can't really say. But my suggestion would be that past seeds are ripening, that in some way are such that you are compelled to sit and do nothing. Like that's a ripening result. Now, whether it's good or bad is a perception about it.
Oh, yeah,
Because
true.
the sitting and doing nothing itself is empty. It's neither good nor bad. So that doesn't mean, okay, then it's fine to sit and do nothing. Because your own mind is watching you sit and do nothing, and it will plant seeds for future sitting and doing nothing, maybe even in a position of where you'd like to do something, but you can't. So when you think it through like that, it's like, maybe I don't want to be so satisfied with sitting and doing nothing, even though my seeds are ripening right now to be satisfied with doing nothing. That's a habit. And maybe I want to change that habit, or maybe not. Maybe I'm exhausted and I need to just sit here and do nothing. And, like you got to reboot your computer from time to time. And you can't do anything on your computer while it's rebooting. Like maybe every now and then it's a goodness to reboot. And then it happens, right? It comes up and we can start again. So on the other hand, it's implying that there's a part of your mind that believes if you're not doing something, you're somehow, I don't know, inadequate or proving yourself wrong or something. So that would be a deeper way to look at it. It's like, why is it that sitting doing nothing, I'm perceiving it as a bad thing? Maybe it's not a bad thing. On the other hand, maybe I am wasting time and I could sit here and do nothing but could spend the time rejoicing in something. And that you could come to the logical conclusion that that would be a better reboot than just sitting and doing nothing. But not forcing yourself to do it because somebody said so. Coming to your own conclusion, hey, I'm going to tonglen, or I'm going to rejoice in the goodness of my lamas, or I can reboot with this positive state of mind and then get up and go. So maybe that'll help you think it through.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Lisa.
Just, Yashen, was the question like, do you feel like you know what you should do, but still you don't do it? Or was the question like, you sit and do nothing because you don't know what to do? Like in my case is, I know what I could do, understanding karma and emptiness, but still I keep doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
and then I regret and cry, and next day it starts, and it's the same. It's like a vicious cycle. I am aware. I hear my Lama telling me what is the way we are invited to do, but I don't do it. Even if I intellectually understand it, I make sense of it, but it doesn't, I don't do it. I don't know what is wrong in my mind. So therefore I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, was your question like
Yeah.
that? Like you know what you should do? Or was the question more like just sit and do nothing because of like a habit of not acting, or I don't know. You see the
Yeah,
difference? What I'm
I
trying to.
think in my case, sometimes it's both, but I have identified there's one part of the like there's a part of one of the options you say is like I know what I want to do, but I don't do it. Another is I don't know what I want to do. So I think it's more like I see other people now, they're all the Sangha member, all doing a lot of good, but I'm not doing. Because I think the other side of I know I should be doing, but I'm not doing that part I have identified is because in the past I have made other people feeling like making them difficult to get to what they want. And I've been purifying that. So now it does also changing, like if there are something I want to do, it gets easier. But now it's more, so I was more asking for the other side. It's like, I was just like, I don't know. And I see all the
Yeah.
people like being, doing really good and running around, but I don't know, like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
That's
think
a
I
whole
got the answer.
nother habit of comparing ourselves to others and finding ourselves lesser, and then how that's an obstacle to even bring the opportunities coming to us to participate in some goodness that we say we want to do, but there's this, wicked cycle going on inside, which
Mhm.
still is a little bit different than what Lisa's describing, if I understand. Uh, we have these subtle patterns of karmic mental afflictions, and they play out deep inside. They manifest in the outside, but it can be really difficult to piece together the pattern that's perpetuating itself, and we can work at it by going at levels, and it does take time to get down to those deep levels of how is this making me feel, and then how is it that I'm contributing to somebody else feeling in that way? And what would be the opposite of that? And where in my world can I help others feel that opposite? So, just as a simple example, say we're in some kind of habit pattern with another person and they're always yelling at us, but deep down we feel disrespected. On the surface, we're angry and we yell back, but deep down it's that we're feeling disrespected. And we don't need to work with our anger and yelling. We need to work with where is it that we're causing disrespect, feeling disrespected by others. And the opposite is, right, paying attention or helping people feel better about themselves. And that's how we would work to change the pattern of that person yelling at us all the time. Because when we no longer have the seeds to be feeling disrespected, the situation that makes us feel disrespected goes away. So that kind of thing in these patterns that we can't figure out, if we go into how does it make me feel and work at that level, sometimes the pattern will reveal itself or it'll just fall away if we really get a good identification. Anything else? Yes,
Thank
and
you,
so.
Lama.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lama.
Mhm.
Lama, I would like to ask a different question. Yeah, you know about this emptiness and bodhicitta. So I know there's a lot of emphasis on the
Mhm.
emptiness and studying the scripture, and we are saying this is the only objective of this life. But we also said that if you only want to see emptiness directly without the bodhicitta, then you may end up as a arhat. And I understand from, I don't know whether it's correct that, to come back down, then you got to start from beginning again, right? To the path of Buddhahood. So question is like, bodhicitta is like, it's also a very big ask. So it's like between both, how can we balance the two and still keep our so-called practice on bodhicitta so that we are still on this Mahayana path and not going down to the Hinayana.
What describe again what would make you feel that you've gone down to the Hinayana?
It's like it's so um, it's like so much focus. It's like there's so much more focus on the emptiness aspect practice versus really getting the bodhicitta. I know we are not
Yeah,
there in terms of getting the bodhicitta, but
yeah,
I mean a lot of time our practice is, I mean, especially when I get you know into the diamond cutter, that aspect, right? I want to do it because I want to plant the seed, but that is the motivation because I want to plant the seed. So it's still coming
right,
from I want it. That's
right.
why
I
I
want
do
it.
it, right? Yeah. So I sometimes has a little bit of conflict, in the mind. It's like, oh, come on, I think that's not quite practice. But it's like, mm, what is the best way to practice this bodhicitta so-called, so that you don't end up focusing so much on, I want to do it because, it's for my seed, for my own seed.
Right. Yeah,
I feel even that
yeah.
aspect is also a little bit towards, like Hinayana. I don't know
Well,
whether I'm right. Yeah.
well, except remember that bodhicitta is I want to reach my total Buddhahood so that I can help everyone reach theirs. There is still a me motivation
Mm-hmm.
as our bodhicitta grows. I think what we mean by I want my Buddhahood is going to expand, and our sense of what we mean by me is going to expand, which is how and why one of the tools for developing bodhicitta is the exchanging self and others, which is really expanding self to include others, right? So those two methods, the 7-step cause and effect method, or the exchanging self and others, and or the combination of the two, right? That's taught in the Lamrim, is the method that we focus on to grow that bodhicitta conclusion. Like at some point, we reach this deep aha that I can't really do any of this 7 steps until I become a Buddha. And it's not that I don't try before I become a Buddha. I try to do it, but I know it will take omniscience to actually be what will bring other beings happiness. So it's like getting to that conclusion that nothing I do is gonna bring about the happiness of others until I do it motivated to bring about the happiness of others. And it's like we don't actually have that realized until we have the heart open experience, in which case we would say, well, now you don't have to be thinking about it all the time. But I think you would be thinking about it all the time after that experience. Before that experience, we're training ourselves to somehow have what we mean by bodhicitta in mind, in our heart, as we start our day, as we do our book, right? Trigger it to something. Every time I check an email, stop first and somehow trigger what you mean by bodhicitta, so that you're planting the seeds to grow that, right? Triggering it, some feeling, some heart opening feeling, right? That's what's meant.
Challenging.
No different than training ourselves in any other new behavior,
Mm.
which you've done many times, right? You've learned new things. You've trained yourself in new things. Those are all rejoiceables that you can train yourself in bodhicitta as well. And there's nowhere else it will come from. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay. All right. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm stopping recording. There we go. Sure you want to? Yes, I do.